So Tom Ford Noir is a fragrance that came out about a decade ago, and I was looking at some discount websites and people are selling the 3.4 ounce for like $290. I think it's discontinued, and I know it's becoming increasingly harder to find. Even at retail, it was selling for like 120 bucks. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about an inspiration of Tom Ford Noir. This one by Dossier is called Spicy Vanilla. I'm going to be making a comparison, letting you know if I think this stacks up to the original. I'm excited to get on with this video, so make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin this review of Spicy Vanilla by Dossier, I compare it to the original, I let you know how close it comes, what notes really pop off my skin, so on and so forth. I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell, and give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. So with Dossier, this fragrance sells for $39, which I think is a great deal. The concentration for this particular fragrance is 15%, which is kind of right around the same concentration that you would get from the Tom Ford. And believe it or not, some eau de toilettes are concentrated very weakly in the designer side of things. And the thing with their return policy is they will also include a sample with every purchase. And if for some reason you're not satisfied with the purchase, you can use up the entire sample, and then you can return the full bottle, no questions asked. So I really like the fact that they have some kind of a, reasonable system in place for those who might have tried the fragrance on their skin. Maybe it didn't work with their skin chemistry, so on and so forth. They can get a refund very easily. Now, this is inspired by Tom Ford Noir, and the notes are nutmeg, black pepper, and lemongrass in the top. You have rose patchouli and iris in the heart. And then you have vanilla, amber, and a papanax, which is sweet myrrh, in the base. So right off the bat, you can expect this one to be dark, ambery, balsamic, incensey with a touch of rose in there, maybe some spices in the opening. And it is on the darker side of things. My thing is with Noir Extreme, it was on the vanillic side of things. So it had this kulfi note, it was spicy with a bit of cardamom and some other spices. This one is actually much darker and not as sweet. I'm excited to give you my thoughts of Spicy Vanilla. Let's start things off with the presentation. So the opening of this fragrance is very dark and warm and incensey, and it's so rich on the resins that it's kind of boozy. So it opens up with this amber accord that doesn't have much of an emphasis on the vanilla. Again, like I was saying before, Tom Ford's Noir Extreme was the vanilla-centric one. This one is more of an emphasis on the resins, and I don't think benzoin is listed as a note, but I kind of get like that medicinal, slightly smoky, resinous quality from it, which inevitably is coming from some of the other resins in here. Now, it does open up with the spices, but I don't think they dominate the composition in any way. The amber accord is really what you're going to get most of in here. So when you read a name like Spicy Vanilla, you are going to get a bit of that vanilla, you are going to get the spices, but it's really more so about the amber. Very thick, full, rich, resinous. If you've tried Amber Absolute by Tom Ford, you kind of have an idea of what is happening in here. Although Amber Absolute is a little bit more exotic in my opinion, this one very classy, elegant, refined, and especially if you do a couple of sprays, if you don't, overdose with it, you can definitely wear this one in a work environment, especially in the colder weather. Again, couple sprays, you can wear it all year round, but it does have the tendency of being a little bit more on the heavy side of things. So you are going to get that amber accord. In the heart, you have a couple of floral ingredients, namely the rose and the orris, and I do get a really nice balance of the two. Now, in trying to determine how strong the flowers are in here, I was, making comparisons to other Tom Ford fragrances. So Noir de Noir is one that has rose in it. Cafe Rose also has rose in it, and it's not as strong as it is in those fragrances, which leads me to believe that, the flowers are kind of taking a back seat. They're in there just to give the fragrance personality, but again, they're not the dominant notes in the composition. But you are going to get the richness of the amber And the sweetness is twofold because it's coming from the vanilla, but it's also coming from the sweet myrrh, aka Apopanax, which is an ingredient that is found in fragrances like Jubilation 25 by Amouage, New York Intense by Fragrance de Bois, and it gives it this very rich, opulent, and luxurious smell without being overly sweet, and that is precisely what you get from this fragrance. Now, if Tom Ford's Noir Eau de Parfum is indeed discontinued, that would make me very upset because, one, I never had the opportunity to purchase it. I only purchased Tom Ford Noir Extreme, and I think they did a really good job with this recreation because it does remind me of all those times I would go to Sephora and I would smell it and I was like, wow, this is a great fragrance, very dark, kind of boozy because of how richly balsamic it is. This is an awesome fragrance. The spices are there, the florals are there, but really the main players are that deep, rich, resinous balsamic amber accord. This is an awesome fragrance. So, and even in terms of the juice, you can tell this one is a lot darker than other Dossier fragrances that I've acquired. So this seems to be a little bit on the richer side of things, and a lot of that can happen with some of those base notes like the resins, like the vanilla, especially if it's a high quality raw material. You can see it actually has a bit of a coloration in the liquid. But in any case, this one is a great scent, very close to the original. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now first, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, well, it's a clone, so it's not unique in that sense, but the overall smell is still a little bit on the challenging side of things. Now, Tom Ford does make fragrances that are very easy to wear, very accessible, Mandarino di Amalfi, Neroli Portofino, Fleur de Chine, so on and so forth. This is one of the darker fragrances that Tom Ford has to offer. Not as dark as Noir Anthracite. That one is very much so on the darker, kind of smoky, cypriol, spicy side of things. This one is much more accessible, but not as accessible as like a Neroli Portofino. So it is a very dark, richly blended composition. So just keep that in mind. I don't think it's going to appeal to everybody, but if you have a thing for fragrances, you've been wearing fragrances for a long time, and you really want to make a statement, I think this is the type of DNA that'll get that done for you. Longevity on this fragrance, you can expect about 8 to 10 hours. The concentration is 15%, as is indicated on the back of this card here. So that will kind of give you an idea of how strongly concentrated it is. But keep in mind that what you're going to get mostly from this fragrance is a lot of base notes. So it's very amber heavy. So this one actually does do pretty well on my skin, better than some other Dossiers in my opinion. So you can expect about 8 hours. Projection was great for the first 45 minutes of application. It didn't start to sit closer to the skin until about that 5-hour mark. Versatility is great. If you don't overdo it, you can wear this all year round. But in terms of the DNA, I think this is the kind of fragrance that people would want to wear in the spring and in the fall, right? When it gets really, really cold outside, you might want to wear something like Noir Anthracite. When it gets really warm outside, you might want to wear something like Mandarino di Amalfi. So this is kind of like those intermediary seasons. And in terms of, the unisex quality, some people would argue that it leans a little bit more masculine, and I think this one will probably cater to the sentiments of somebody who's a little bit older. In terms of the presentation, very simple, minimalist presentation, but I think that's contributing to the low cost of the product. $39 for 100 ml, if I'm not mistaken. My final verdict on this fragrance is it's very dark. It's ambery, it's rich, it's resinous, it's spicy with just a touch of sweetness, and it's a really close version of Tom Ford Noir, which I'm given to understand is discontinued now. I hope you enjoyed this video. That was my review of Spicy Vanilla by Dossier. If you own or have tried this fragrance or any fragrance from this brand, let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to support the channel by subscribing to it. Hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload future videos, and give this video a thumbs up. It would greatly assist with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks again for watching. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.